Our story begins with a news update of a terrorist attack on the moon Europa caused by the terrorist organization Outer Way. Led by Danny Nakamura, our protagonist, Jacob Lee, is en route with his first mate, Max Barrow, on a standard supply run of medical supplies from Europa to Callisto, the prison moon of Jupiter. After a short talk with Max regarding the job, Jacob decides to check on their cargo. While inspecting the goods, he finds wreckage in part of the ship and notifies his companion that the ship is boarded by someone. He soon finds out that someone is the Outer Way terrorist group. He tries to sneak past the interlopers and back to the cockpit. The Outer Way catches up to him, and Jacob opens the airlock, causing most of the cargo to fly out of the ship, and the ship crashes on Callisto. In return, Danny Nakamura shoots the door, causing much more disruption to the ship, and it freefalls into the moon of Jupiter. To take control, Jacob pushes forward into the pilot chair and safely crashes the ship. After the crash, he awakens to find that his first mate Max is dead. He is then saved by security personnel and escorted to the Black Iron prison on the order of the warden, even though he was innocent. Jacob is held against his will, forced to undergo registration and processing as inmate 532 to 521. Dr. Caitlin Mahler implants a core device in Jacob's nape, the standard for prison personnel and inmates. This painful experience causes Jacob to pass out from the pain. Jacob wakes up from a dream after seeing a mysterious cube and getting attacked by Max's dead body. He now finds himself locked in a cell, and the entire prison is in chaos.
Cell block. This is not a drill. Please, remain calm. There is nothing to fear.
What the hell? Something's not right.
Jacob finds another inmate, Elias Porter, and agrees to help him in exchange for an opportunity to escape Black Iron prison. He guides him to the control room, where he faces the first demonic creature and fights him off. He then opens Elias' cell and frees him. They agree to meet up in a safe room in the watchtower. The only obstacle left between Jacob and Elias, Leon Ferris in the security main control room. Jacob tries to sneak past him, but eventually, he finds him. He blames Jacob for the death of his comrade around the prison and intends to take a painful revenge from him. But Jacob opens and uses the blast door as a shield and unleashes biophages on CPT Ferris, leading to his untimely demise. After getting to the safe room Elias had promised, Jacob is given a BI-55 hand cannon model to be reforged. Elias tells him that they need to free another prisoner who has the connections necessary for getting off Callisto. The catch is that they're being held at the SHU, a separate holding unit accessible only via gondola. But not knowing, he went down the running water slide, which almost ended his life. After surviving a water slide and a biophage-infested cavern, Jacob finally arrives at the tram station. Elias asks him to make a detour to the oxygen processing to lift the lockdown protocols. Jacob gets on the gondola and infiltrates the SHU to look for the inmate Elias promised. After many encounters with biophages, Jacob arrives at Cell Wing A to free the last person he wanted to see. He learns that Danny Nakamura, the leader of the terrorist organization The Outer Way, is the person he was meant to save. Danny is untrusting towards Jacob because of the death of most of her comrades, also holding him responsible for what happened in Europa and what was happening in Callisto right now. So, she locks him in the cell, and Elias tells him that he has no clue of this event. But before he does anything, the cell goes back to another section of the prison. Jacob tells Elias not to forget his promise, so Elias gives him another route to take in order to meet up with him. After managing to escape the SHU station, Jacob catches a glimpse of the outside world. The tram station is located inside the giant dome, but to reach that, Jacob must go underground. Jacob must pass through the water processing facility as he tries to evade as many biophages as possible. At the end of the facility lies the ladder that will lead him straight to the heart of the dome. Elias advises him to take a detour in utility to account for the collapsed walkway. After reuniting with Elias and preparing for the surface, an infected Ferris shows up. It seems that he is infected, but with a different type of pathogen, making him strong and mentally stable unlike the others. He then blasts the airlock, sending Jacob and Elias being sucked out of the facility and onto the moon's surface. Jacob wakes up in the middle of nowhere in a storm. He hurries to find Elias, close to death. Danny later shows up and retrieves Elias' implant BIOS to gain information on how to get off Calisto. Still untrusting towards Jacob, Danny refuses to take Jacob in the snowcat but instead points him in the direction of the hangar. Jacob walks towards the hangar, but to get there, he has to go through a broken bridge, an infested demon ground, and finally the underground through the tunnel system dug up by miners. Jacob exits the tunnels by the strain of his nail by the garage where he meets up with Danny. Danny seems to be ambushed by the infected, so both join teams to fight them. Once done, Danny tells him to find a way to get the main gate unlocked so they can both get out of the facility aboard the snowcat. Reluctant at the beginning, he agrees as the only way to get out of here is to work together. After regrouping in the courtyard, Danny takes Jacob to the crash site, where she tells him to open the package he was supposed to send to Calisto. Once he shows it to her, she is flabbergasted by not seeing what she was expecting. After denying that he had anything to do with what happened on Europa, they both make their way to the hangar. When they reach the hangar deck, Danny tries to get a nearby ship to land, but Warden Cole shows up and tells them both that this will be their final destination. It seems that a bigger power has taken control and the outbreak has happened intentionally. Warden then overrides the anti-aircraft missile system, shooting down the ship, causing it to crash into the hangar. This sends Jacob and Danny flying as the hangar falls apart. After waking up, Danny learns that Arcas, the original colony, still exists. She tells Jacob to take the transport hub from the colony back into Black Iron. Jacob understandably tells her that he won't go back where he came from and they must find a way out of the moon, not linger any longer. But Danny tells him that it's not about survival anymore, it's about finding answers. On their way to the colony, they get separated again as Jacob falls deeper into the tunnels. Jacob wakes up in the presence of a new mutation of the biophage, the blind. A blind biophage that is highly reactive to sound. He must find a way to get power back into the transport platform to get to the colony. On the transport, he finds another new mutant, the Two-Head. When he gets to the colony, he finds Danny seemingly in a trance as she downloads all the data and information from a dead miner. She attacks Jacob as if she is the dead woman that she is extracting the data from. Once she comes to her senses, she explains that once you upload someone's memory, it could cause you to change into that person. But she also now understands what happened to the first colony of the moon. Convinced that this outbreak was no mere accident, they venture deeper into the colony to learn the secrets of the Calisto outbreak. After another encounter with a Two-Head, Jacob and Danny head further into the colony to discover a research lab where they extracted samples of the original virus and tried to replicate it as a bioweapon. The virus is from an ancient species that lived millions of years ago, which was infected by an unknown origin virus.
Three disease vectors for the biophage pathogen. We collected specimens and transported them to our central lab on Europa. The pathogen acted as an evolutionary accelerant, mutating the colonists into little more than mindless brutes. Save for one, so-called Subject Zero. Somehow able to reap the benefits of the contagion, greater strength, endurance, and longevity, while preserving their intellect and humanity. Though killed by security forces during the outbreak, the body was transported to the Black Iron Lab, forming the basis of the original research program.
God.
5, 2,
Ferris shows up once more, this time slightly more mutated than the last time. After narrowly escaping Ferris, Danny gets infected with the virus. Convinced that the warden must have an antidote somewhere in the prison, Jacob and Danny try to find a way back into the prison until they are intercepted by security droids. Jacob finds himself getting dragged back into his old cell when he hears the voice of Dr. Caitlin Mahler. She tells him that she can save Danny with his help. Jacob then rushes to Mahler's research, but on the way, he faces both the infected and the droids, making things even worse. Once he reaches the lab, he finds her injecting a serum into Danny to hamper the progression of the virus. With the help of Dr. Mahler, Jacob learns the truth of the events that have transpired by tapping into Danny's memories. He was the one responsible for what happened in Europa, and what was happening to Danny. He was played by the higher powers to be a puppet, and he never questioned his actions. Dr. Mahler hands him an antiserum that could save Danny's life, but it requires getting a sample directly from the Warden's Alpha. Jacob confronts the Warden and learns that everything has come according to plan. The Warden reveals that his plan of using the biophage virus to force humanity to evolve for the stars. We find out that the plan was for humans to evolve from their fragile body and cells to a much more adaptive form, able to survive in any type of atmosphere and situation. That's the moment Ferris comes in, and the decision to spread this virus comes into the hand of Jacob. If Jacob wins the fight, he will be able to choose, and if he doesn't, then the Calisto Protocol project has been successful. A terrifying battle begins, which eventually Jacob wins. He takes the sample from Ferris Alpha to save Danny. After defeating Ferris, Jacob extracts a sample and synthesizes an antidote. He gives it to Danny just in time to save her. The Warden reveals that there is nothing to stop the destruction to come. The entire facility is now falling apart. Jacob and Danny hurry to the escape pods. Jacob uploads what he learned to Danny, plus the crime he committed in Europa. They redeem himself. He makes the ultimate sacrifice by throwing Danny inside the pod, leaving him to die on black iron as penance for what he's done. Then we see the place explode, and the story of Danny is left to interpretation or future sequels.
No! You don't know what you're doing!
I didn't. But I do now. I can't keep running from what I've done.
What are you talking about?
Sorry. For everything. I do belong here.
Don't do this! Jacob! Jacob! Data transfer complete.
That transfer worked both ways. He learned more about me, and I learned more about him. In the chaos of the moment, I didn't realize he had also given me the evidence I was looking for all along. And sacrificed his life so that I could expose the truth. Was he trying to make up for the pain he'd caused? Or just chasing some kind of redemption? Either way, I hope he found some peace.
Jacob, there might be a way out after all.
Reactor 4 temporary safety is activated.
But I'm going to need your help.